In Windows 10, you can search for BlueJ here. If BlueJ is installed, you will see this icon. You can click on this icon to launch it. Given that we will be using BlueJ a lot in this course, searching for it each time we want to launch it may not be very efficient. A better option will be to pin it to taskbar so that the launch icon is available whenever we need it. To do so, right-click on the icon and select Pin to Taskbar. BlueJ's icon is added to the taskbar. Clicking this icon will launch BlueJ. This is BlueJ main window. This is how it will look when you open it for the first time. In subsequent launches, it will open the project that you were working on previously. You start by creating a new project in BlueJ. A project is a collection of Java classes that constitute your software application. So, if you are building a student's marks management application to record the marks of all the students in your class, that will be one project. While at the same time, if you are building a cool game using Java, then that will be a separate project. To create a project, you go to the project menu and select New Project like this. The New Project dialog pops up. Give the name of the project as First Java Program. For location, navigate to the folder where you want to save your project. I will save it in C:\KnowledgeBoat, CompApps, BlueJ. Click on Select Folder and then click on OK. BlueJ has created our first Java program project. The name of the project is shown in the title bar. Let's go to the location we specified for our project. I will open File Explorer and go to C:\KnowledgeBoat, CompApps, BlueJ. Here you can see that a folder with our project's name is created. This folder represents our first Java program, BlueJ project. Let's open this folder. There are a couple of files here, package.bluej and readme.txt. This package.bluej file is the project file. It contains information related to the project and is used by BlueJ. Readme.txt is a text file provided by BlueJ to add documentation for our project. BlueJ provides a handy way to work with the README file. Let's go back to the main window to see it. This icon here represents the README file that we saw just now in the project folder. You can open it by double-clicking on it. Here, you can add the details and additional notes about your project like project title, purpose of the project, etc. This is just a template provided by BlueJ to help us document our project. You can change the contents of this README in any way you want. This is just a text file provided by BlueJ to hold the documentation of your project. Let's close this and go back to the main window. Next, we are going to add a new class to our project. For adding a new class, either you can click this New Class button, or you can go to the Edit menu and select New Class. I will use the New Class button. This opens the New Class dialog. Enter the name of your class. Remember, we named our class Hello Java in our first program. Select language as Java, class type as class, and hit OK. Our newly created class is added to our project. Let's switch to the folder containing our project. This is the file that contains the source code of our Hello Java class. The Java compiler requires that a source file should use .java filename extension. As you can see here, our source file has .java extension. Coming back to the main window, did you notice these stripes present on our Hello Java class icon? These stripes tell us that the class has not been compiled yet. Once we compile the class, the stripes will go away. But before we can compile the class, we need to add some meaningful code there. To add code, you need to open the class, which is done by double-clicking on the class icon like this. There is another way to open the class. Let me close the class to show you the other way. Right-click on the class icon and select Open Editor option. That will also open the class. Both ways are equivalent. Use whichever way you prefer. The class already contains some code. This is the skeletal code of the class that's generated automatically by BlueJ to save some amount of your time and effort. This default code is syntactically correct. It will compile but won't do much. Let's examine this code. There are some comments asking us to provide the description, author and version of our class. Then our class definition begins. It contains a private member variable x of type integer. Here is the constructor which assigns x the value of 0. Then there is this public method named sample method which accepts a integer parameter y, adds it to the member variable x and returns the result. All this code is not much useful to us at this point. Our first program is even simpler than this. So I will remove all this code and enter the code of our first program. I will speed up the video for the part where I am entering the program to help you save some time. Okay, I am back with our Hello Java class coded. Let's save it by going to class and selecting save. Alternately, you can use the shortcut Ctrl+S to save the code. BlueJ automatically saves your work whenever you compile the code or when you close the editor. So it is very unlikely that you might lose your changes even if you don't explicitly save your work. Nevertheless, it is always a good idea to save your work explicitly. You can compile the code of your class by clicking this compile button. You can also compile your class by right-clicking on the class icon in the project window and selecting compile like this. Both ways are equivalent. You can use whichever you like. Notice that there is also a compile button here. You can use this too. This will also compile your code. There is just one difference between this and the previous options. Clicking this button will compile all the classes in your project. This is a very handy way to compile all your classes by clicking just a single button. Did you notice that the stripes on our Hello Java class icon are gone now? That's because we have successfully compiled our class. Now let's see what happens if our code has compilation errors. I will deliberately introduce an error. I have misspelled public in the definition of the main method. Let's see what happens when we compile the class. Notice that the pattern of stripes changed on the class icon in the main window. This indicates to the user that the class didn't compile successfully. Let's go back to the class. The line where the error occurred is marked out. If I take my cursor to the line, a message pops out explaining the reason for the error. The error message is not very helpful though. It is complaining about identifier declaration syntax being incorrect. At the bottom of the window, there are also some messages informing us about the error. Let me fix the error and get the class to compile again. So now all's good, our class compiles, there are no stripes on the icon in the main window. As we are on the topic of compilation, I just want to take you back to the bytecode lecture. Remember this Java compilation overview from that lecture? Let's connect the dots here by relating this theory to the actual compilation of our Hello Java class. We learned that Java compiler takes Java program as input and generates the bytecode from it. We just compiled our Hello Java class. Let's go to the project folder and see what all files we have. There is a new class, hellojava.class, which was not there previously. This is the bytecode of our Hello Java class generated by the Java compiler. Just to make sure you understand it, I will repeat the compilation once again. I will delete hellojava.class file and again compile our Hello Java class. Before recompiling, let me reopen BlueJ. Currently, there are no stripes on the class icon. Let's reopen BlueJ and see. Wow! The stripes are back on the class icon indicating that Hello Java is not yet compiled. I deleted hellojava.class file. As BlueJ is not able to find the bytecode, it is rightly indicating that the class is not compiled. Let's compile it now and also keep the project folder opened in File Explorer. hellojava.class file is now created containing the bytecode of our class. This bytecode will be executed by the JVM to run our program. We can take this hellojava.class file to a machine running Mac and it will run fine there too without needing any modifications. I wanted to talk to you about the file naming requirements in Java. There are a few interesting things there and now is a good time to discuss it. We have already seen that Java source code files need to have an extension of .java. Another thing to notice here is that the name of the file containing source code of our class and our class name are same. This is not a coincidence. Unlike other programming languages where you can give any name to the source file, in Java, the name of the source file is very important. The best practice in Java is to name the source code file with the same name as the class it contains. The reasoning behind this best practice is that no matter what you name your source code file, the .class file that is generated by the compiler will always have the class name as its file name and .class as its file extension. Taking the example of hellojava.class, the name hellojava is coming from the class hellojava and .class is the extension that the Java compiler gives the bytecode file. By giving the source code file the same name as the class it contains, you get a .java file and a .class file with the same name. This helps to avoid confusion as to which is the source file related to a .class file. As you see here, we can very easily correlate the .class file corresponding to this .java file. I said that naming your source code file after the class it contains is a convention or a best practice. Keep in mind that there are certain cases where this becomes necessary and is mandated by the compiler. Your class will not compile unless you name the file same as your class. In those scenarios, it is also very important to remember that Java is case sensitive. So, not just your file name and class name should be the same, they should exactly match the case too. Now, what are the scenarios when this becomes mandatory? That we will see later in the course. With the class compiled, now is the time we all have been waiting for. Finally, we will see our program running. Let's switch back to the main window and open the class. Remember, we declared main function static by writing the keyword static before its definition. Due to this, we don't need an object of class hellojava to execute the main method. We will directly execute it from the class. But this will change from the next program onwards. Then we need to first create an object of the class and use that object to execute the methods. Don't worry about it now. I will show you how to do that when we look at our next program. For now, let's go ahead and execute the main method. For this, go back to the main window, right-click on the class icon and select the main method. It asks for argument of main method. This is the array of strings variable args that I ask you to ignore. So, keeping my promise, we will not give anything here and just click OK. And there it is, the output of our program in the terminal window of BlueJ. It has printed the words Hello Java with 3 exclamation marks on the console window. Congrats on executing your first Java program. Now, let's close the console window and execute the program again. Notice that the output of previous execution is still there. By default, BlueJ will not clear it for the next execution. You can manually clear it by going to Options and then selecting Clear. BlueJ also provides an option to do this automatically so that you don't have to manually clear the screen before every execution. It is this Clear Screen at method call option. Let's select this and execute the program. I will execute it again. The second execution started with a blank window as we have selected the clear screen option. Let me unselect this option and execute the program a couple of times. BlueJ also provides an option to save the contents of console window to a file. To do this, click on the Options menu and select the Save to File menu item. I will name it first program output.txt. Location is the same as the project folder location. You can give any location you want. Click on Save to save the file. Let's go to the location where we saved the file. Here is the file containing the output from the console window. You can open it with any text editor and see the contents of the file. Let's close this and go back to the main window. Okay, with that, we have written, compiled and executed our first Java program. I will suggest you try all the steps that I have shown in the video on your own and play around with BlueJ. The key to becoming a successful software developer is practice and trying things on your own. The more you practice it, the more confident you will become. We will just look at a few more things in BlueJ before wrapping up this video. Next, we will see how to close a project in BlueJ. Closing a project is very simple. Go to the project menu and select the menu item Close. To open a project, go to Project menu, select Open Project, navigate to the project and click on Select Folder. This will open the project. BlueJ can open all Java source files and packages, whether they are created with BlueJ or not. To demonstrate opening non-BlueJ files, I have a source file containing a Java class in this non-BlueJ folder. Note that there is no package.bluej file present in this folder. Hence, it is not a BlueJ project. To open it with BlueJ project, go to the main window. From the project menu, select Open non-BlueJ. Navigate to the location of the project. In this case, it is non-BlueJ folder. And then click on Select Folder. The file successfully opened in BlueJ. One important point to note here is that the first time you open a non-BlueJ Java source file, BlueJ will create a package.bluej file there, so it will become a BlueJ project. Next time you will open it like a regular BlueJ project. Going back to the non-BlueJ folder, see package.bluej is created now. This is no longer a non-BlueJ project. Now it can be opened like a regular BlueJ project. With this, we have come to the end of this video. I hope you have a good understanding of BlueJ by now. With some practice, you will get comfortable using BlueJ. Thanks for watching and I will see you in the next video.